I badly wanted to go for a natural birth. We have called for appointment, and we thought like any other hospital they'd say, please come down, we'll have you look over and all. But to our surprise, it was like it's all closed and sorry, we can't take anymore for the month of August. And I kept on taunting her and I kept stalking her on Instagram, asking. I mean, I literally pleaded her that I somehow want to get into Sanctum. I was already 36 weeks by then. She said, okay, if you're 100% sure that you want to go with us, then I'll have somebody call you and fix an appointment.
There was this deep desire to have that natural birth, and a lot of it stemmed from my first birth experience. I had a first time, my pregnancy was very healthy, there was absolutely no major issue as such. But when birth happened, it was completely different from what I had planned, prepared, and expected.
And that's when I realized, I told my husband that, see, if we are going to have a child, it's going to be in this place only and nowhere else. I don't know, for some reason I was very stubborn, and especially after first consultation with Vijaya ma'am, I decided this is the place where I'm going to give birth, you know.
She could see my case history and all the previous consultations that I've done with the other doctor which I visited earlier. She saw everything and she was okay. She said, okay, fine, I can take you in. And that was when we got into Sanctum.
And the best part about this place is it felt like home. I felt safe over here, you know, unlike how one generally feels, right? When you go to a hospital, you feel very intimidated, you feel scared, and they'll only pinpoint all the problems, things that are wrong in your body. They'll not, like, you know, encourage all the right things that you're doing.
They walked me through what natural birth is, through all the Lamas classes and the yoga and prenatal checkups and all. They could give me a clear idea of what delivery is, what labor is. Before the 36th week, I knew nothing about my delivery or labor.
One of the things that we very often do is to give them all the pros and all the cons, and at Sanctum we always believe that informed consent and informed refusal are two sides of the same coin, and that if a mum is being given or a family is being given pros and cons, they are equally welcome to refuse something as long as it is within a certain parameters where the safety of the mother and safety of the baby are well taken care of. Having said that, as a care provider at Sanctum, I also reserve the right to say, for example, that this doesn't look good to me. Even if you have refused it, within the practice parameters that I have, I would be able to say okay to this versus not okay to this, right? So I think it has to be more of a collaboration between the midwife and the parent, and that's how we always practice it. And because of the fact that they have been with us for a while, they understand the processes, and they have been through the process of antenatal checkups where we have always had open communication and trust. It becomes easier for them to make a good decision for themselves because we are all on the same page.
Because mine was a precious pregnancy. Okay, with so much of difficulty, I got this baby, and then wherever before I when in 23 weeks before I was reaching here, I went to different kind of hospitals, and then they scared me that I will only have C-section because based on my ectopic pregnancy, I had a minor laparoscopic surgery. So due to that, they gave only option is cesarean. So when I got my baby naturally and without any needles and pins on my hands, without any cannulas on my hands, so naturally I delivered like a pro. And then madam was beside me sipping a cup of coffee, and then she said everything will be all right, you'll be okay.
When it came to Sanctum, we knew beyond a shadow of doubt they would do the right thing. That we would be very much in control of the decisions that we will be allowed to make. We would be given enough information, and from a risk perspective also, we felt very confident that Sanctum would be able to take care of whatever would happen during the birth. And if not for Sanctum, I don't think I would have had my VBAC.
Yes, singleton pregnancies, head down baby, less risk women who go into labor on their own, almost all of them have a 80 to 85% chance of having a successful VBAC, which these days, if you look at it, 80 to 85% of first-time mothers are not having a successful natural birth. So if when you talk of VBAC, we are talking of immense, I think there is a joy to seeing a VBAC for me, right? I also feel like the woman feels like she has accomplished. Now she's saying, my body was not a lemon. It was not a malfunctioning machine. I have proved to myself that I have done this, and there's a huge joy in seeing that.
Won't believe my daughter was born on Thursday. So Sunday, the previous Sunday is when my mucus plug broke, and I was already 2 centimeter dilated on Sunday. And right now when I think of it, I feel so grateful for being here, because had it been any other hospital already with 2 centimeter dilation, they would have asked me to get admitted. But ma'am said, go home, do what you regularly do. In fact, go for a stroll, go watch a movie. You lead life as if nothing has happened, and that's what I did. And I remember one particular time at noon when the contraction picked up and I could not handle the pain. I said, ma'am, I really want to come because my house is 15 kilometers away from the birth center. I was asking Vijaya ma'am, shall I take Airbnb? What should I do? Because it all happened very fast. Like Sunday to Tuesday, nothing happened. Wednesday to Thursday, it just escalated, Terima. So Vijaya ma'am said, you're still speaking. I think you can still manage it. Don't worry. You'll feel a lot more better at home than when you come here, because the initial, if I come earlier, if I get admitted earlier, then a lot of, as part of protocol, a lot of checks have to be done, So she said, just be at home as much as possible in case it gets unbearable. Definitely you're welcome here.
I finished my 40 weeks and I had an appointment that day. That was when my labor started in the morning at around 6 a.m. And we came by 4:20 or 4:30 in the evening. After I came, around 5 minutes later, my Balu water broke, and an hour later I had my baby. That was a very out of the world experience for me, because it's my first pregnancy and I knew nothing about it. So I didn't know what it felt like. But only after that day I could know what it was, and it felt really nice to have had my delivery done at Sanctum, just because I had a great support system at Sanctum. There were a few nurses and sisters. Vijaya ma'am was there, Hannah was there.
Then there came a time at around 1:30, I was like, no ma'am, it's just not happening. I could not speak at that time. And that is when ma'am said, pack your bags and come. So my husband, he drove the car, and how we drove, we only know, just the two of us, and my parents and my in-laws thought we had gone crazy, living life on our terms kind. So immediately, my husband was at one point at this Jubilee checkpost, he started chanting Hanuman Chalisa also, because I had started moaning in pain, And then it took us 45 minutes to get here. And then Vijaya nurse, when she came and she said the head has already, she could see the head, and I think I was almost 10 centimeters dilated at that time. And I saw the tub and I was like, please put some warm water there. I just want to be in water. I don't feel like doing anything else. They suggested few poses, you can stand in a certain way, lie down in a certain way. You can maybe walk down the stairs if you want. I said, no, none of it. I just want to be in the water. And I remember at 3:45, I got into the tub and 4 o'clock my baby was out. Just like 2 pushes and she was out. The force was so like involuntary, you know, like I just couldn't control it.
At one point I gave up and then I said, "Madam, I need to go for, please take me to C-section." And then she said, "Come, give your hand and then feel your baby's head. This is your baby's head." Once I touch and feel, and then I forgot that word that I'm going to shift to OT for the C-section. Then I felt like I was in a cloud 9, and then immediately my baby was delivered, and then madam took out that 3.64 kgs baby vaginally without any episiotomies, nothing.
Fast forward like 9 months, every appointment was very nice. I used to look forward to, you know, coming here, meeting everyone. I always got lactation support whenever I needed. Like I used to come here on a weekly basis for my daughter's vaccination and checkup. And even after delivery, when I came here, I felt like I'm home, you know. Like apart from home, I only felt home over here at that point, because that initial like first 3 months is so vulnerable, right? You don't feel safe giving your baby to anyone's arms. But I felt very safe. Whoever came, carried her, took her, I felt very safe over here.
Kindness and compassion to a mother who is birthing is one of the most not just important things, it's actually baseline. Like if nothing else, you do that, right? And it comes from my own experience with my first birth, where even today I remember the last time I saw my doctor when she had come to check up on me after the birth. You know, I had these questions: why did I land up having a C-section when everything was absolutely normal right until the last point? So she had given her views on it, and then she was leaving the room. She was in a hurry, and she very casually mentions that it was good the baby came out, because the baby would not have made it otherwise. And she doesn't turn back and look at me while she says that and exits the room. I somehow cannot forget that image, that words that were spoken at that point of time, because I don't think that is something we can just tell a mom 24 hours postpartum that, you know what, your baby wouldn't have made it if I didn't bring her out at that time, and not discuss it further. You know, not help the mother come to terms with what had happened, understand the process. It's not just a newborn baby, it's a newborn mother as well, especially for first-time mothers, right? There's a taking in phase where she tries to process what has happened to her, with her, through her during birth, and there's a taking in phase where she has a lot of questions. She wants to understand and process, and then take on the role of being that new mother.
And I initially did not anticipate that I would continue the association this far, because right now also we have chosen Dr. Sindhu only as my daughter's pediatrician. We come all the way from Bovenpalli, but we insist on just coming here because it just feels good to be back here.
It's also amazing to witness the family who has come here rather tentative, rather afraid, rather not knowing what to expect, to suddenly blossom into this family who has made good choices for themselves, taken responsibility for their outcomes, and that just directly segues into good parenting practices. And there is a mindset that this is how, and I think that there is this sense of we are creating a little better world. Maybe it's like one person at a time, one family at a time. I know it's a lot, but that's the sense that I feel when these families come back feeling healthy and happy, that one family at a time, maybe we are creating a more peaceful world. you see these little babies, and then they're coming back at 12 months and then at 18 months. And we have parents coming from, when they come from abroad, they'll say, this is the first home that they had, I must visit them, and we have had parents who will say that my child is graduating, and it's just amazing to witness that growth.
I have resumed work and everything is like back to what it used to be, but I still feel like being associated with Sanctum, and I had told ma'am that maybe not right now, like after my daughter grows up a little, I'll try to do some voluntary work, or I'll try to take up some course over here so that I can still be associated with Sanctum.
I continue to talk to friends, continue to support birth, spread the message about natural birthing in a very informal way with my circles. But I think it was when I did sit for the exam, got certified as a Lamaze trainer, that's when Dr. Vijaya had asked me to, why don't you come and teach? And that was a life changer for me, because I started giving back in a more structured way, I think. And I absolutely loved talking to mums over the last few years. No matter how many people I sit and help learn about childbirth, I feel it's not enough, because there's so much to do. Every mother who's pregnant and who's in the class, I just can't wait to hear her story. I can't wait to hear how things play out for her. Because I think birth is so special. No matter how often you see it, if you see it day in and day out also, every birth is so special, right? Because it's the birth of a baby, it's the birth of a mother.
To me, Sanctum was just a need that needed to be filled. Like when I looked around years ago and started to look at women's experiences, nobody would even say what their experience was. It was like, to me, that was a huge void for one of the most important and almost like a volcanic experience of your life. It's like a volcanic shift that happens inside of you when you give birth. If that is marred by no knowledge, no information, things being done to your body, internal exams being done without consent, and the baby being dragged out of you one way or another, that's reducing birth to an event which probably most people find very traumatic, right? So to me, Sanctum was a need, not so much as you come to Sanctum for 1, 2, 3 things. It is like, if your need is to be treated with kindness, with dignity, with respect, and a little awe of your own body, and a little joy and celebration, that's what Sanctum is to me. It is not about coming for a checkup or having a baby or having a water birth. It's all of those things together, and feeling supported and being in a cocoon of support around you, where everyone works with you to help you do one of the most important events of your life in a way that feels safe to you. That's what the vision of Sanctum is to me.
So I have 2 kids. So I know the experience which I faced, but the experience which I faced is totally different from here, because Vijaya ma'am handles every patient in a so gentle way. She asks, every time she talk to them, she just think like she's not a patient, she's just a mother. The level of respect and care she gives to every patient, it's so amazing, because even I didn't experience that in my pregnancy. Once they leave after their delivery, they'll be sharing the feedback form, no? So I can see how happy they feel after all this journey. When I see ma'am talking to every patient in such a way, I feel like she is not a doctor, she's like a mother, telling other mothers how they should manage their labor, how mentally they should be strong and all.
I would strongly recommend for every pregnant mom to go through some form of childbirth education. I think, they often say that the internet information is so confusing, it is so overwhelming. And that is true, because birth is not something you can control. There is so much unpredictability, and that's what makes it a miracle of life, right? Both the fear of what could go wrong and the expectations of what I definitely want can become stumbling blocks for you. You have to learn to flow with the birth. right? And we talk about this in classes as well. And this one mom who really keenly wanted a water birth, and we were doing this one exercise where we asked her to list out everything that she wanted out of birth and picked just one or two things which were completely non-negotiable. And then I asked her, what if it doesn't happen? Just for hypothesis sake, let's just talk, what if it doesn't happen? And I gave her some time to process it. And she obviously didn't like the explosion of emotions she felt when she was picturizing herself as not being able to experience that. And then we talked a little more about it and how to deal with it. But I hear back from her after she had her birth, and she says, you know what, that 5 minutes when I visualized that scenario where my birth would not have been possible really helped me to flow with birth when it actually happened. Well, she didn't really get the water birth that she wanted, but what had helped was the fact that she was equally happy with the way her birth went. And I think that is important, not to be too hung up on things that you want while making space for birth to unfold by itself.
It often happens fairly smoothly. When it happens, we again are able to talk to them. It's not like we are just saying, come on, we are going to take you in for a see. We are saying, okay, I don't like what I'm seeing here. I'm going to give you this information. Meantime, I'm going to start making arrangements. And because we have a collaborative model of care where we have in-house obstetricians, we have in-house obstetric facilities as in emergency facilities as in operating theatre, and we have an entire team who is backing it up, that transition is fairly smooth with the parent. Again, this is the other important point, because not only is it collaborative, it is also a continuity of care. So for the parent, it's not like we are just saying, okay, we have an emergency, now you have to go and see somebody else and someone else is going to take over your cesarean. We are here with them, hand-holding them, giving them the information, seeking consent. Even in that emergency, we have 2 minutes to treat them like a human being. It's not that they are just being moved, but we are saying, I am with you. Come on, this is an emergency, but I am really with you over here. I'll hold your hand while we get changed into the OT gown. And we are transporting them into the operating theatre, and the same team continues to see them. For them, that's valuable because it preserves their sense of bodily autonomy, their trust in the system, and they still feel safe. How important is that to feel safe, isn't it?
పేషెంట్కి ఒక సంతోషంగా పోయేటట్టే చూస్తాం కానీ బాధతో పోయేటట్టు చూడం మేడం. వాళ్ళు కూడా సంతోషంగా మళ్ళీ డెలివరీకి కూడా మేమే ఉండాలని చూస్తారు. ఇప్పుడు నా డ్యూటీలో 11 సంవత్సరాల నుంచి కూడా వాళ్ళు మళ్ళీ మంజుల ఆయమ్మ బాత్ మంచిగా చేపిస్తుంది, స్నానం ఏది మంజుల ఆయమ్మ అని అడుగుతారు. అట్లా పేషెంట్ కూడా బాగా మర్యాద ఇస్తారు. ఒక ఆయమ్మ అని కూడా వాళ్ళు ఇది చెయ్యరు. ఒక మన ఇంట్లో ఫ్యామిలీ మనిషి వచ్చి పని చేస్తున్నాని కూడా వాళ్ళు చాలా మర్యాద ఇస్తారు. మేము కూడా ఇంకా మంచిగా చేయాలనిపిస్తుంది మేడం. మాకు పేషెంట్ కూడా ఇక్కడ చాలా మంచి వాళ్ళే వస్తారు, అట్లాంటి వాళ్ళు కూడా రారు మేడం. మంచిగా వాళ్ళు మర్యాద ఇస్తారు. మేము కూడా మా మనసుతో ఎంత పనిని చేస్తే వాళ్ళు హ్యాపీగా ఉంటారు, మేము కూడా హ్యాపీగా ఉంటాం మేడం. వాళ్ళు పేషెంట్తో మాకు ఏం ఇది ఉండదు. మేము కూడా పేషెంట్ చాలా సంతోషంగా ఉంటారు మేడం. మేము డెలివరీ అయిపోగానే మదర్కి స్నానం చేపిస్తాం మేడం. మొత్తం రూమ్ అంతా క్లీన్ చేస్తాం. మళ్ళీ బేబీకి ఫస్ట్ తుడిచి మళ్ళీ మదర్కి స్నానం చేపించి బెడ్షీట్ అన్నీ వేసేసి వాళ్ళకి మొత్తం క్లీన్ చేసి రూమ్ మొత్తం మళ్ళీ వాళ్ళు ఒకటి ఇదంతా చూసి ఫస్ట్ డల్గా అయిపోతుంటారు. ఆయమ్మ వేరే రూమ్ ఇయ్యరా సార్, మీరు ఇక్కడ కూర్చోండి సార్, మేము కానీ ఒక నిమిషంలో మళ్ళీ మొత్తం క్లీన్ చేసినాక వాళ్ళు ఎంత సంతోషపడతారంటే, అమ్మ మళ్ళీ మేము వేరే రూమ్ వద్దా అమ్మ, ఈ రూమ్ బాగుంది అంటారు. శాంటంలో ఏంటంటే మొత్తం లేడీసే. ఆయన కూడా కిమ్స్లో పనిచేస్తాడు. నేను ఎప్పుడైనా ఇంత జర్నీ అవుతుంది, నా కాళ్ళు వస్తున్నాయి, నేను ఇక్కడ వర్క్ చేస్తా మీరే అంటే, వద్దు శాంటంలోనే లేడీస్ ఉందని నీకేమి. ఒక్కోసారి ఏదో డిప్రెషన్లో అయిపోతుంది, కానీ ఒకసారి మనీ నాకు అసలు మనసుతో పోబుద్ది కాదు. మా మమ్మీ కూడా చేసింది మేడం చాలా సంవత్సరాలు. అయినా కూడా చాలా మేము మేడంకి రుణపడే ఉన్నాం, కానీ మేడం కూడా అసలు మాకు ఎంత ఇది చేయలేదు. అందరినీ స్టాఫ్ని బిడ్డలానే చూసుకుంది, కానీ ఆమె ఎప్పుడు సార్ కానీ మేడం కానీ ఇంతవరకు మమ్మల్ని 11 సంవత్సరాల నుంచి కూడా మేడం అసలు ఒక్కో రోజు కూడా మా మీద విసుకున్నది తెలియదు. ఇక డుమ్మాలు అవుతుంటే కానీ మంజులా అంటే ఆ మేడం అంటే అయిపోయింది, అంతేగాని మేడం చాలా మంచిది.
We have been recognized as a ICI facility, initiator facility. Basically what it means is ICI stands for International Childbirth Initiative. The parent organization was an organization called IMBCO. It was an International Mother Baby Childbirth Organization. That was started years ago. Basically that was to say the care that a woman receives should be with respect, with dignity, with kindness, and these 10 steps, it used to be 10 steps, and at that point we were an MBNet. MBNet was a hospital which followed those practices and was a mother-baby net. Then about 2 years ago, 2 years, 3 years, I can't remember now, 2 years ago, IMBCO along with FIGO. FIGO is the Federation of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, international organization. Along with them, they came together to say, now we make it 12 steps. And the beauty of this is that you can pick up any step and try to make it better, right? So you may not be able to have all 12 steps, but if you identify and you say, for example, is the woman treated with respect? Is she given all the information that she needs? Is there a collaboration? So one of the steps in that is also a collaborative model of care where the woman is able to access emergency services at moment's notice should she need it. Is there skin to skin and mother baby bonding? Is breastfeeding initiated as a routine protocol within the first hour? So there are many steps like that, and that basically access to care. How good is our access to care? So those steps were put in by these two organizations to make it easy for any facility to be identified as a mother baby family friendly facility. So we are, in fact, in India, we are one of the first urban facilities to have got that recognition. And the idea behind it is that we should be able to propagate this to many facilities. We will be looking at, in this coming year, we'll be looking at mentoring other facilities as well. The whole point is any facility which wants to, make this as a part of their framework of care, it's very easy to say, okay, I am providing information, but I don't have continuous labor support, for example. So can I choose step 3 or 4 and say, I will provide continuous labor support, or the family can bring their own continuous labor support. So it's a very beautiful initiative. We are very proud to be a part of it, and hopefully more and more facilities in India will come up and, become or aspire to be a part of this initiative.